come to the conclusion that the reason that there's just such a lack of hot straight men is because women are just not as good at pushing a beauty standard onto men as they are onto us and onto each other. Okay, you look at the gay community, they're all hot. You look at the women, they're all hot. You look at the straight men, crickets. Julia Fox said it best, okay? And I think it's because we are just accepting mediocrity and calling it hot. We are pulling most plain men out of the bottom of the barrel and we're being like, yep, no, he's hot, because we're giving him qualities that really inherently aren't that hot. And calling him hot, he just has to check one box. He's 6'3", he's hot. He has a job, he's hot. He hasn't seen the inside of a gym in God knows how long. He doesn't know what a vegetable is and what's up with his face. Guys, come on.
Sometimes I think we don't see the irony in some of the stuff that we're saying in terms of our own attractiveness and putting it out there for other people. But I think the issue here is not that men aren't attractive, right? When you can see it in, just to make your example, you can call gay men they're hot. You can call women they're all hot. It's just you're very much used to right now. It's popular just to hate on straight men regardless of their race. Right? It's just that's what's popular. That's what's okay. That's what's accepted. That makes everything else fine. And you just bust out content like that without realizing or without being objectives and saying, yeah, not everyone's hot. Hotness, like everything else, is subjective. It's not really. Yes, there's a subjectivity to it, but there's an objectivity to it in terms of what people tend to be drawn to, what people tend to desire. And then it's on a scale, it's a hierarchy. It's on, the bell curve. Not all of us are going to be attractive. That's it. To make we constantly see on here, it's very, very, very easy. Or when the women judge each other, they never say they're ugly. Never. They never look in their rank and say, no, this person's super attractive. No, there's no ugly women. So off rip, they're fine using that as reasoning why the men aren't attractive. But men can be broken down into every sort of nuance. But that's not to say that she doesn't have a point. When the beauty standard or the beauty industry really isn't foisted upon men. When it is, when you do, I'm old enough to remember a time when men were routinely getting their nails done, going and getting beauty treatments or looking at stuff like that. And then they called them metrosexual. You had a lane already picked out to denigrate them, to shame them, for them wanted to take better care of themselves. So it's not a thing that the industry isn't there or it's not applicable to men. That when men have tried it, you already shame them, and men are acutely aware when it is time when you do things as a straight man. They look and say that is sassy or you must be gay. We use it in this twofold way where it's fine to be gay when they're your friends, when it's good for the example. But then when it's an attempt to shame men, then that goes right. That's used immediately. But before we continue, like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you don't miss new uploads. Still going strong, still doing two a day, still trying to pay this rent. So I use this video because it's a common thing now. On one hand, shaming men, is sort of just spewing your hate for men online in various degrees, and this is a milder one. You have some people will flat out say how they hate men. But two, how attractiveness is just the new thing that men are failing at. Saying that some, and again, my issue is always that we're painting with such a large, wide brush. When you say something like, these men haven't seen the inside of a gym, or haven't eaten a vegetable. Yeah, no, there's that's not the case for all men. In fact, most male spaces were the gym. That changed, in 10, 15 years ago, where now you see more women in these spaces. And not saying it was exclusively just for men, but working out, bodybuilding was really a male thing, is where we went to go. We often call it our therapy. It's not a thing that men weren't there. Men are still often there. But when it becomes very popular to ignore the reality, the objectivity of a thing, just to clown men, just to denigrate men, this is what we see. Someone that doesn't that wants to call men, like plain, and you look plain, right? And plain's not bad. Plain is a very normal thing. That's a very regular thing. But when that is on a woman, it's not bad. It's just still exemplary, right? It's the men that have to constantly go through a crucible to prove themselves that somehow that they're worthy of love, they're worthy of attention, or they're worthy of being treated as individuals and not lumped together in this whole. Well, let's play this one again.
I've come to the conclusion that the reason that there's just such a lack of hot straight men is because women are just not as good at pushing a beauty standard onto men as they are onto us and onto each other. Okay, you look at the gay community, they're all
When you look at some spaces and you see men engaging in makeup and using makeup, and depending what state you're in, there are places where men are makeup artists and damn good at it. Yes, they tend to be gay, right? But when they're using it, you're not. That's still something that's not pushed onto straight men as being acceptable. Getting your nails done is something that is still, I think, is still now more acceptable for men to do. Is an expectation for them to still be groomed, but putting on a clear coat, that's not used and acceptable. So if you're not going to make a lane, right, as women, they're not going to make a lane, or society's not going to make a lane for men to use these things, use makeup to enhance how they look, and that become the expectation. Hell, even now when you see some celebrities, some artists, some rappers wearing skirts and such, that's still not wholly acceptable for all men to do. We still have a rigid set of standards and ways we're supposed to operate, and in that, most of our stuff is regulated to being utilitarian. The best we can do is smell good, and I love me a good cologne. But when you do other things like that, even having a facial wash routine, you know, recently one of my coworkers and I, we had some like long trips, but yeah, we would talk facial routines. Like, yeah, that's what I do in the morning, that's what I do at night, and people around are like, other men are still like, "Wait, you do that? Yeah, we use sunscreen." It's still not something that's acceptable, but in terms of just straight out attraction, we all know there are attractive men out there. The fact is, what's probably the case, the attractive men that she's into just really aren't into her. Because it's hard when you aren't told the truth as a woman that there are beautiful women, there are average women, there are ugly women. You hit the same stratus that all other humans do. We're all stratified, and there's some things we can do about our appearance, about our weight, about our health. There's plenty we can do, but just in terms of desirability, there is going to be a scale. When you tell women that you are not attractive, it's met with sort of an emotional pushback because it goes against the identity where you think that you have a leg to stand on to talk about these things about other men or men as a whole that is not attractive. There's no attractive men out there. If he were to say, you're not one to talk, then we have an issue. But listen, if you think I missed something, let me know down in the comments. You see videos on your screen right now. That means I'm doing my job. Take a look at those. Let me know what you think about those as well. And naturally, if you're hearing the sound of my voice now, if you haven't subscribed, you're killing me, right? Join the train. Trying to pay this right. I'll see you in the next one.